I am mad because this is my second time filming this video. Hi guys, it's me Yolanda and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, please make sure that you subscribe, like this video, and comment after the video is done. So today's story time video or whatever is basically going to be about the time that I got scammed by my boss. I don't know what I'm going to title this video yet, but that's essentially what happened and like my worst job experience ever. I might title it that, but whatever. So basically I was looking for a job actively in 2019 because I wanted to help my mom pay bills and have some spending money for myself because I was broke as hell. And I just didn't like seeing like that people my age were like spending money and like going places and I was just sitting at home. So I was actively looking for a job. So I found one on this job app, I think it's called Indeed, and I applied to this one job as a restaurant downtown, and I got a call the next day from the employer to tell me that he was going to interview me twice, once on the phone and the second time in person. So on the phone interview he called me on, we spoke for like a good 10 to 15 minutes, and basically he just talked about weird stuff like his family, what my interests are, if I've ever worked in like a restaurant before. And I guess it was okay or whatever, but like we did have like a conversation and that was fine. So basically after the phone interview, he decided to tell me that I will be getting the job and I should come in person so he could interview me for the second time in person, which was like okay, because I had a feeling that I was gonna be getting this job based on what he said. He's like, oh, like you sound like a really good candidate for this position and I would be like, I'd love to see you in person so we could discuss more about it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Ignore my background, my room was messy, just focus on me. Okay, so basically I go there in person the next day and his name is Charles. I'm just gonna call him Charles for this video. I go there in person the next day and he is not there, guys. And I spoke to the girl at the counter who was the cashier. Her name was Allison. And I was like, hey, I'm here for an interview. My name is Yolanda. I don't know if you guys have heard about me. And she's like, oh, you're the new girl. I'm like, new girl? Does this mean I'm hired? Did they already hire me? And then she's like, just wait for him. He's gonna be here soon. Okay, so I'm waiting in the dining room for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and he is not there. So the Allison girl, really kind, came to me and she was like, hey, I'm really sorry that he's making you wait. He does this a lot. Would you like any food or anything while you wait, a drink? I'm like, no, thank you very much, I'm okay. And then she's like, oh yeah. So I wait for an additional 10 minutes. So I was waiting for like 30 to 40 minutes at this point, and I was just like, should I leave and whatever. So he called the restaurant and Allison picked up, and then she looked at me and she like hung up and came up to me and she's like, hey, he wanted me to tell you that you got the job and that he would be adding you to a group chat where you can talk to all of us and post like schedules and stuff. So yeah, you got the job and you can start next tomorrow or something like that. So I was so excited and I got home and told my family, hey guys, I got the job, because like, you know, and they were kind of happy because now I could make my own money, because you know that's what the plan was. So fast forward to the next tomorrow, I go in there and it's my first day. Based on the schedule, since I already been added to the group chat or whatever, it said I was gonna start at 7 a.m. or something. And I was like, 7 a.m.? Based on my calculations on Google, it says your restaurant opens at 11, whatever. So I get there at 7 a.m., the door is locked, obvi, and I knock on the door. I'm like, hey, is anyone in here? I'm like knocking. And then a lady like looks outside and she's like looking at me and she's like, and then she opens the door and then she's like, are you Yolanda? Are you Yolanda? I'm like, yeah, it's me. And then she's like, oh, yeah, I know you, like, come in. Take me to the kitchen, start showing me things that I'm gonna do. She teaches me how to replace the grease, which was disgusting, and how to like make patties and stuff. And yeah, that was fine. So fast forward to like 3 to 4 hours later, we open the restaurant at 11 and it gets kind of busy, but it's manageable or whatever because it's my first day. So when we open the restaurant, about 2 more employees like come in and like They say hi, whatever, whatever. And like it's cool, we're chilling. So I'm just like working there, like watching them like make sandwiches and like make chicken tenders and fries and whatever. And it's cool. It's a very good environment so far. I'm not feeling too weird about it, but I have still not seen the person who hired me. So the lady who let me in the morning turns out to be his sister, but also his employee. Her name was Agnes. I'm just gonna call her Agnes for this video. And then I asked her like, am I gonna be seeing the boss today? And she's like, oh, not today. He's not gonna be here. He's not in town right now, but I'll be the one training you. I'm his sister and whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. So then she is helping me, teaching me about new stuff. She's really fast paced, but she's like really sweet to me, really nice. And then time flew by really quickly, and I noticed that the time was like 3 p.m. and I was gonna be finishing work at like 4 or 5. So it is 3 p.m., meaning that it has been about 8 hours so far, and I have not gotten a single break. I was exhausted. I'm like, don't we get breaks around here? Like trying to like ask like, hey, like do we get breaks around here? Just trying to ask like the random employees that are there, and they don't answer me because they don't speak English that well. Some of the employees that work there, well, most of them that work there couldn't speak English properly, and no one was like responding to me. They're just looking like I was crazy, and I was like, okay. It is time for me to leave, and I leave. I'm exhausted. I have to take like a subway and a bus back home because I don't live downtown Toronto. And I got home, telling my mom about the like job and everything, and then she's like, they didn't give you a break? I'm like, no. So she thought that was kind of weird, but I didn't think too much about it. So the next day I had work. It was a weekend, and the Allison girl was there along with 2 other employees, his sister and the boss. So Charles, Allison, Agnes, and 2 other employees, 5, well, including me, 6. So we were there, and there was like a back kitchen, and there was like the dish station and like all the prep stuff and like that. So we had one guy who would always work there constantly because we're like the designated dishwasher. And the 2 girls who were like working with me on the line both of them were Indian. One of them could speak English, the other one could not speak English at all. So I had a conversation with the one who could speak English, and just like regular conversations about like the job. And she just kept telling me stuff like, oh, it's a good job, it's okay, it's fine. Just like a really programmed robotic response. And I just felt that was kind of weird. So I saw the boss for the first time on this day, and he looked okay. He's like, hey, nice to meet you. How are you liking it so far? Just like being like nice and whatever. And it was okay. It was cool. So I was working the night shift that day. I started from like 3 or 4 p.m. till like 10 or 11 p.m. that day. So I was really exhausted because I had been working again for like 5 hours straight, and I didn't get a single break to sit down. So I asked the girl who was working with me, I'm gonna call her Bonnie. So I asked her like, hey, do we not get breaks around here or anything? And then she's like, no, we get breaks, but not a lot, just like a little bit every now and then. I'm just like, So I kind of found that response weird. So I decided to sit down for a little bit because there was a chair in the restaurant at the back in the kitchen. And I decided to like sit there for like a good like 5 minutes. And me just sitting there, the guy's sister, like the owner's sister, Agnes, would like walk past me because the chair was like, so the chair was in the middle of the line and like the back of the house. So I was sitting pretty close to the freezer, which is like locked up or whatever, but the chair was just like there for like some weird reason. And like I sat there, and then she just kept passing me, like going back to the freezer and going back to the line, back to the freezer, going back to the line, and it made me feel really uncomfortable because I had to like keep like moving like my body, like trying to like accommodate her from that space. So after she passed me like 2 or 3 times, I see her going to the front of the restaurant to go speak with her brother, who was also the owner, and they kept speaking to each other in like their language, which I assume is Korean. And they looked at me, and the girl came back, and then she's like, hey, I just want to let you know that we don't sit down here. Like, we don't allow people to sit down. So like, he just told me that he didn't like the fact that you were sitting down. So like, just don't do it. I felt really hurt. I was like, that's weird. But okay, that made me feel really weird, but I'm just like, sure, whatever. So I stand up and yeah, I keep working again till like 10 p.m. and I'm exhausted. I had so much stuff to clean. I had gotten no breaks. The only break I got was to go to the fountain to just get a drink. That was the only time like we could like get like a breather, just to go to the fountain to get a drink. So after my shift was done, the next day, I was like kind of getting annoyed with the job already. It has been like a week of me working there, and I was already like, okay, I'm really tired of this job. So I start making like little excuses, which I know is kind of weird on my part, but I told him I was going to be going to summer school, which is not true. I just wanted to look for an excuse to like get my hours reduced, because if I didn't tell him that I was going to summer school, he was gonna give me like full-time hours. He didn't like the fact that I told him I was gonna be going back to school, and that kind of bothered him a lot. But he was like, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever." Like he didn't want to like show it. So fast forward to me working there like 2 weeks now. I had not gotten any dinero, and I asked the girl who I usually work with, like, "Hey, when do we get paid?" And her response was, "Oh, we get paid at different times. It depends on how long you've been working here and stuff like that." And I was like, "How much do we get paid?" Because he didn't discuss payment options with me. He didn't ask me for my social insurance number like he should have. He didn't ask me for any documentations or anything. He didn't even ask me for my like email so he could e-transfer me. He didn't talk to me about that. So I felt really weird about that, and the response that she gave me was not really sitting right with me. And she also told me that we would get paid every month. That doesn't sound very, I don't know, that just sounds really weird to me. But anyways, so I just thought her response was weird, and I decided to ask him when we did get paid. So I can't remember because the story's like a really long time ago. I'm just gonna link it, like put the picture around here. But he basically told me that we get paid in the first week or second week of every new month, and that I was gonna get paid about 13 something per hour. And after like a couple weeks or months of me working there, I was gonna get like a higher wage, like 14 to 15. Even though like the minimum wage is 14, he was paying me like a little bit below. I'm just like, okay. But then he's like, "Oh, but I'm gonna give you like a paycheck next week because you get paid for the shifts that you've worked and like the week that you worked that we were like training you or whatever." Training was like only like 2 days long or something. So he paid me the next week after, and before that happened, I told my mom about the situation, and she told me to get like a little note or a book and just write down the days that I worked and the hours that I worked, so that when he pays me, he will like not cheat me, whatever. So when he paid me, he didn't take off taxes or anything, because I used to work at like a previous like retail store where I would get paid like bi-weekly. And I know that every time I got my paycheck, I would always get like tax taken off, and I would get paid bi-weekly. But he didn't do any of that. He paid me like after 3 weeks of me being there, and he didn't take off any taxes or anything. I got no breaks whatsoever, so my paycheck was kind of like better than I expected it to be, and I was like, okay, like this looks pretty good or whatever. So fast forward to me having about 2 deaths happen in my life. My uncle died, and the celebrity that I mentioned in my last video also died, Cameron Boyce. They died in the same week, the same weekend. They died about like 2 days apart, and that really messed me up because I already hated this job and I was mourning this death or whatever. So I needed like a good week to myself to just like mourn and relax from all of that. So I lied to him that I was going to be going to Vancouver for my uncle's funeral. Mind you, my uncle was in Africa. My uncle does not. My uncle lives in Africa. He died in Africa, but I just lied that he was going to be in Vancouver so that I could get out of working that week. So when I told him that, he felt weird. He was like, "Oh wow, can you still work though?" And I'm like, "No." And then he's like, "So how should I like schedule?" Like, I don't know, but I'm gonna put like the picture around here or like here. But basically, after I told him that, he felt kind of awkward about it. He's like, oh, sorry to hear. Wow, like, sorry about that and whatever. So I explained that to him, and I also lied to him that I was going to summer school earlier, like I said. So I was gonna like reduce my hours or something. So basically, after mourning for a week, I come back to work for like a full week and a half, I think. And I did not enjoy that week and a half that I was there. I just kept overthinking about death because I mentioned previously, when it comes to death, it is not my topic at all. I am scared of it. I hate talking about it. It's like a big trigger for me. So when someone dies that's like not even close to me, but I knew about, it really affects me for some weird reason. And that was really unfortunate because even like someone in my family, my uncle died, and like a celebrity that I really like admired died. So that killed me. So I came to work and I was really sad, and he went on to tell the other employees that someone died in my family. And then I was just like, that's weird. Like, why would he tell people that? I felt really awkward about that. Because when I came to work the next week after that, everyone was like, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm just like, who told y'all? Like, I'm not. I felt really bad about that. I felt mad, but I wasn't like thinking too much about it again, because I just stand there and get shit on my face. Well, that was the old me, but now the new me has changed, so watch out. But basically, I just didn't think too much about it. So he did not show up to work very often, and every time I would work, I would feel really sad and depressed. So I just decided to quit the job as a whole. So I sent like a whole paragraph. I'm gonna post that over here or something, telling him that I was going to be quitting. I made sure to thank him for giving me a good opportunity, and that I appreciated the job a lot, and that he was my best boss ever, and I loved working there, but I'm sorry that I had to leave. And I told him I was like still grieving over my dead family member and everything else. And the first thing this man could tell me is, how will you pay bills? I'm just like, that's a fucking weird ass question to ask. Why does it matter if I'm gonna pay bills or not? I felt weird when he asked that question. I'm just like, okay. So I explained to him that I live with my mom and she pays majority of the bills, and yeah, and that's that. So he did not like my response to that. I think he said something else. I'm just gonna put the picture here because I can't even remember what he said. But basically after that, I asked him for my paycheck after because it was the end of the month, because he said he pays like end of the month / like beginning of the first week in the month or whatever. So I was like, hey, it's the end of the month and I still haven't gotten my paycheck yet. So would you like e-transfer me? Like, this is my email, because he sent me my first paycheck through e-transfer. So that was what he was going to do. So I was like, hey, I haven't gotten my paycheck yet, yada, yada, yada. And then he proceeds to tell me, oh, ever since you left, I have been working like a dog. And I misread that part. I thought he called me a dog, so I kind of went off on him in that part. I'm just like, ooh, why would you like say that? You're making it seem like but he was making me feel guilty, like it was my fault that I quit. Your job was horrible, sir. The environment was weird. Like, you were treating me weird. It was a weird job. Something was fishy about that job, so I decided to freaking leave. So don't come here telling me that you feel like you're trapped or like you're working too hard ever since I quit. That is not my problem. And I asked him for my paycheck, and he said no, that he was gonna treat me like every other employee and pay me later when he's paying everyone else. So I text the Allison girl later on. I don't think I have a picture of that, but I'm gonna try to find it. And I ask her if she's gotten paid yet, and then she's like, yeah, that she has. And I'm like, but he hasn't paid me yet. And then she's like, oh, I don't know, like just text him to ask him. And I'm like, something's not right here. So fast forward, it is already 2 weeks into the new month and I have still not gotten paid. According to my calculations, I was gonna get paid around $100 and something for the weeks that I worked there because I didn't work that much. And he didn't pay me my money still. And I was getting really pissed off at this point. And my mom was also really mad because she was like, why is he not paying you your money? Like, do you want me to go to the work with you so you can page him physically and whatever and whatever. And yeah, she doesn't answer. So I sent him like a whole paragraph telling him, hey, I haven't got my paycheck yet. I'm like texting him back and forth and he does not respond to me. So I switched to, he like blocks my number on, because I was texting him on like iMessage. So he blocked my number on iMessage. So I can't text him anymore. Leaves me on red, blocks me, whatever. So I switched to WhatsApp. I have cleared the chats from WhatsApp, so I really can't show proof of that. But basically, I started texting him on WhatsApp and I was like, hey, no, I didn't tell him who I was. I'm like, hey, where is my money? And he notices that it's me and he leaves me on red. So I call him and I'm like, hey Charles, it's Yolanda. Where is my money? I'm asking you for my money. Like, you haven't replied to me, you blocked me. And then he hung up on me. And I'm just like, what the hell? So then he blocks me on WhatsApp too, so I can't contact him. I'm just like, what the hell? So I realized that I have his sister's phone number and I'm texting his sister, hey, tell your brother to give me my money back, blah, 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 blah. Like, you are really nice to me. I appreciate the both of you, but I don't get what kind of game he's trying to play here. He is trying to pay me for my money. This is like messed up. What's going on? Is he broke or something? Because I'm like lost. Why isn't he paying my money? So she sees my messages and she's leaving me on red too. And I was like, girl, I really thought you were different, but you are just the same like your brother. This is weird. So I'm sending her like multiple texts and she's like, leaving me on red, leave me on red. So that happens. And then I get my mom's phone number and like I text him like a whole paragraph and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna try to like find that information, like the text I sent him on my mom's phone number. But basically I was like, hey, if you don't give me back my money, I'm gonna get people involved. Like, this is not right. My mom's a lawyer. My mom's a cop or something. Like I gave him like some bullshit ass story, just trying to like threaten him to give me my money back. And he was not buying it. He blocked me on there too. So then I took the number from there and texted him on my mom's WhatsApp, and he couldn't escape that one. I was getting really pissed off at this point, and I started talking to my mom about it. I'm like, yo, this man is very fishy. He thinks that he can dupe me. He's trying to scam me because he didn't ask me for any of my documentations. He didn't like ask me for my social insurance number, nothing like that. So he just like treated me like a no-name employee, so he just could ignore me, and he has no proof that I worked there or anything. So it was easy for him to just like not pay me my money. So my mom was like getting pissed off. So I started like searching up like things I could do to report this man. Then I come across the beautiful number of the Ministry of Labor of Canada. And I was like, hey, So then I'm like wondering, am I the only person that he does like treats this way or something like that? Because most of the people that worked with him were Indian immigrants who did not have any documentation whatsoever. They were undocumented. So he made them work for him constantly, and he would only pay them cash at hand. So he thought I was also undocumented because he just assumed that I was. So then I threatened him and I was like, hey, I know that you have undocumented people working for you, and I am a citizen of Canada. I will report you to the Ministry of Labor if you do not give me my money immediately. Yeah, and that's it. I'm warning you, you have like 24 hours to give me my money back, or I'm gonna report you to the Ministry of Labor. And this actually made him like buckle up. So in the next like 10 minutes, he like e-transfers me my money, and then he like blocks me. And I'm just like, whoo, I could have done that a long time ago. Like, this is crazy. So after I threatened getting his business shut down because of all the weird stuff that he was doing there, it was unsanitary. He had people that were like undocumented working for him. he had no respect for the employees. He didn't care about anybody else but himself. All that shit. I could have reported him for everything that he did that was unethical and wrong in the eyes of the law. So me threatening him with that made him really scared because he was going to lose his little business, and then he paid me my money. So I was still considering like, hey, should I still report him or something? But the people that were like undocumented that worked there were really nice to me, and I just felt bad taking their only source of income away from them. And I was just like, you know what, I'm not going to report him to the Ministry of Labor because these people need their money and they have no other choice but to work for him. Hopefully they can leave him in the future. But yeah, that's that. So that was the story about how I got scammed, well, almost got scammed by my boss, and that was like my worst job experience ever. So fast forward to like a couple months ago, I was looking for a job again on like the same like Indeed website or something, and I came across his job that he was hiring, but this time around it was like a different type of like criteria. So in the first instance when I applied in 2019, he only asked for a resume. And if you don't have one, that's fine. But in this one, he said that the paycheck was gonna start from like 17 bucks an hour, and he asked for your social insurance number, your work permit, and like all the necessary documents. And I'm like, now you're talking. So that means something must have happened after I left for him to ask those questions or something. Or maybe it was my doing that made him change his criteria for hiring. But yeah, that was that story time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. So, bye-bye.